Right in the middle of the Great Depression, when everything was falling apart, this crazy dream started rising up in New York City, a tower of steel and stone that just kept climbing, defying not just gravity, but the times themselves. This is the story of the Empire State Building, a monument that was built against all possible odds. Okay, let's just jump right into the craziest part of this whole thing. The entire project, from the day they broke ground to the very last rivet, took only 410 days. Just think about that. A skyscraper, the tallest in the world, built in a little over a year. A speed that's, well, it's pretty much unthinkable today. And the whole idea was driven by pure, raw ambition. John J. Raskob, the guy with the money and the vision, he walks up to his architect and asks this now famous question: how high can you make it so that it won't fall down? I mean, that's the level of audacity we're dealing with here. So, of course, this leads to the one big question that people have been asking for almost a century. Deep in the Great Depression, with the global economy in shambles, how on earth did they pull this off? Well, that's the puzzle we're going to piece together today. To figure out the how, you first have to understand the why. See, New York in the late 1920s was this battleground for titans of industry, and they weren't just competing on the ground, they were fighting a war in the sky. At its heart, this whole thing was a personal rivalry. You had John J. Raskob from General Motors on one side and Walter Chrysler, head of the Chrysler Corporation, on the other. It was this clash of two massive egos, each one dead set on building the tallest building in the world, even while the country was going broke. And what they managed to do, it basically breaks all the rules of construction as we know them. I mean, think about giant projects today. You hear mega projects, you automatically think delays and budgets that just explode. And this really puts it into perspective. The Empire State Building was finished 5 months ahead of schedule. It came in 25% under budget. Now compare that to something like the Sydney Opera House, which went an incredible 1,400% over budget. The Empire State Building is the one massive exception to what experts call the iron law of mega projects. They're always late, and they always cost more. Let's put some real dollars to that. The original budget was $43 million, which was an absolute fortune back then. The final price tag, $24.7 million. They built a wonder of the world for nearly half of what they expected to pay. That's something you just don't see anymore. So what was the secret sauce? How'd they do it? Well, they basically took the construction rulebook, threw it out the window, and turned the whole site into a super efficient assembly line that went straight up. One of their most genius moves was logistics. Take the steel, for example. It was made in Pittsburgh, and every single girder was marked with the exact spot it was supposed to go in the building. From the second it was made, a clock started ticking. It had to be on the site in Manhattan, ready to be hoisted up within 80 hours. No storage, no waiting around, just a constant, perfectly timed flow of materials. And that was just the start. They used a really radical method called fast tracking. They actually started building before the architects had even finished the blueprints. That was completely unheard of. Add to that identical floor plans so workers could do the same thing over and over, plus a mini railway inside the building to move stuff around. Every single detail was obsessed with speed and efficiency. So what did all this get them? This perfectly choreographed dance of workers and materials? The steel frame of the Empire State Building shot up at a mind-blowing pace of 4.5 stories every single week. That's a rate that's still just awe-inspiring today. But the building wasn't just an engineering marvel, it was also a design icon. It captured the elegance of its era, but it also had some wonderfully strange ideas about the future. I mean, if you've ever stepped inside that building, you know the feeling. The grand lobby is just pure Art Deco heaven. You're hit with this huge open space, beautiful marble, perfect symmetry, and then you look up and see that incredible ceiling mural made of 24-karat gold. It was designed to scream power and style from the moment you walked through the door. But what about that famous spire, the pointy bit at the very top? Well, it wasn't just for decoration. Its original purpose was something straight out of science fiction. It was supposed to be a docking station for airships. No, I'm not kidding. The plan was for giant transatlantic zeppelins to tie up to the top of the mast. Passengers would then walk out 102 stories above Manhattan. It was this amazing futuristic vision. that was also totally nuts. The winds up there were insane, you couldn't actually tie the ships down properly, and a test flight in 1931 almost ended in disaster. So yeah, that dream died pretty quickly. So the airships never arrived, and for the first few years, the tenants didn't either. The building's journey from being a commercial failure to a beloved global icon is a story in itself. You see, despite being built so brilliantly, it opened at the worst possible time. Most of its office space sat empty, and it earned this really painful nickname, the Empty State Building. But its story was far from over. In 1933, it had its big screen debut in King Kong, and that instantly made it a cultural landmark. Fast forward a few decades to 2007, and it's voted America's favorite building. And then in 2011, it completely reinvented itself all over again. It earned LEED Gold certification. Now, that's a huge deal. It's a global standard for green, energy-efficient buildings. Through this massive, forward-thinking renovation, this 1930s icon became a model of 21st century sustainability. It proved that our old landmarks don't have to be relics. They can lead the way into the future. Which really brings us back to the beginning, doesn't it? The Empire State Building is more than just a tall building. It's proof of what's possible when you have a clear vision, relentless innovation, and incredible teamwork. And it really makes you wonder, in our modern world of endless delays and cost overruns, what can we still learn from this 90-year-old marvel that raced to the sky?